Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ray Carr Show. Our special guest is the great Mickey Gilley. Mickey, thank you for spending some time with our Cleveland audience today. I really appreciate that. My first question is, your illustrious music career, where did it all begin, and how did you get your start?
Well, first of all, let me tell you that it's an honor and a pleasure to be on your show. And I started back in 1957. I tried to follow my cousin Jerry Lee Lewis into the music industry. And I made my first recording back in 1957. 17 years later, I cut Room Full of Roses, and it became my first number one song. Up until that time, I was actually doing a tribute to my cousin Jerry Lee Lewis because I could play his music.
Okay.
And it kept me working in the clubs, which I enjoyed, but I only had 2 chart records during that period of time that made the charts in the Houston area. And one of them was a song called Is It Wrong for Loving You? A little musical trivia for your people out there listening to you. The guy playing the bass guitar in the recording session in 1959 was a guy by the name of Kenny Rogers.
Oh, my God.
So they probably get a kick out of that, knowing that. A few years later, I cut a song called Lonely Wine that I heard Roy Orbison do, and it became my next chart record. But in 1974, Room Full of Roses hit nationally for me and launched me into the music scene. We had booked Conway Twitty at Gilley's in Pasadena, Texas at that time. And he comes down, he was playing now keep in mind now that Conway Twitty has more number one songs than any man on the planet. He's coming down, and I got the number one song in the nation with Room Full of Roses. And Conway's coming down, but he hadn't put 2 and 2 together and figured out that Mickey and Gilley's one and the same. And
Wow.
I opened the show for him that night. That's how I met Conway. And 2 days later, I'm signed to Conway Twitty and Mr. Loretta Lynn's agency in Nashville. And 2 weeks later, I'm on the road opening shows for Conway and Loretta. So that's how my career got started. And, of course, everything exploded back in 1979, 1980.
Yeah.
That's when I did the film with John Travolta called The Urban Cowboy out of my nightclub in Pasadena. And that launched me and Johnny Lee into the stratosphere as far as our career was concerned. I had Stand By Me in the film, and Johnny Lee had Looking for Love.
I remember that very, very well, yeah. Great song. Just let me go back just for a minute. Ooey Baby and Call Me Shorty were 2 of the records I remember from the late 1950s.
Well, Call Me Shorty was a tune I cut for Dot Records, but it didn't do anything.
Okay.
It was just laid there. Ooh Wee Baby was a song that I recorded in my first record, and it got no, exposure whatsoever. But 50-something years later, the Yo Play Yogurt company used it in a commercial, and I made quite a bit of money off of it. But, I mean, that was just one of those things that, it was a windfall.
Right.
But that had nothing really to do with my career except for the fact that when I opened Gilley's in 1971 is when my life started to turn around because I was doing actually a tribute to my cousin Jerry Lee. I could do all of his music. And then when I opened the club in 1971, I got a local TV show and started doing the TV show there in the Houston area. And I walked in one night, and the lady had the jukebox in Gilley's. She said she heard me do a song called She Called Me Baby All Night Long and asked me if I would record it for her. I went in the studio to record She Called Me Baby, and for the flip side, I just casually picked the old song Room Full of Roses, which was recorded back in the late 40s, early 50s by George Morgan, which is Laurie Morgan's father.
Okay.
I grew up singing that song with Jerry Lee Lewis and Reverend Jimmy Swaggart. And, I never dreamed it would be a hit. And lo and behold, it became my first number one song in the nation.
Amazing. Wow. And from there, well, I remember seeing the movie Urban Cowboy, as many millions of other people did. Did you think at the time when they were making that movie it was going to be as big and long-lasting as it was?
You know what? When they told me that they was going to do the film The Urban Cowboy and who was going to play the part, it dawned on me at that time that John Travolta was coming off of Saturday Night Fever. And it dawned on me at that time that this could be a country night fever. I didn't really believe they was going to do the film until I was at my recording studio right there on the Gilley property there in Pasadena, Texas. And all the Paramount trucks started filing in, to do this film. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, they are going to do this film, I had no idea what kind of impact it was going to have with the music industry, but it really, really turned the country music on its ear, really.
Yeah, I mean, your version of Stand By Me is a classic, and Johnny Lee doing Looking for Love and Orange Blossom.
When I met Jim Ed Norman, who recorded Stand By Me for me, he actually took me out of the shadow of my cousin Jerry Lee Lewis. Because up until that time, if you listen to all the previous recordings, Room Full of Roses, I was in Oregon City Lights, The Girls All Get Pretty Close in Time, Bring It On Home. I was at the piano, doing the same thing that my cousin Jerry Lewis would play, I wasn't quite as good as he was, but I was having success doing it. But when I met Jim Ed Norman, the guy that produced, he used to work with the Eagles, and he came in. He started picking songs like "You Don't Know Me," "That's All That Matters to Me," "Headaches from My Heart Tonight," "Boots You Love," "Put Your Dreams Away," and "Stand By Me." All of a sudden, you know, my career turned around. All the showrooms in Vegas, Reno, Tahoe, and Atlantic City opened up. And, I mean, you know, like, I got invited to do things that I never dreamed I'd ever get a chance to do. I got to play for two presidents, President Ronald Reagan, President George Bush Sr. They gave me a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I got to go to Hollywood and do some acting, all because of the type of material that Jim Ed Norman picked for me to do.
Yeah, it's not just being a good singer. You have to have the right material and the right people behind you to give you that break.
Well, I think that you got to have an ear for the songs. And, you know, I mean, I tell the story in the show when I did Paradise Tonight with Charlie McClain. I thought it was a piece of junk. And it turned out to be a number one song. So I had to back up and say, you know what, that was a pretty good song. I tell the story in the show when I'm doing my performance. I was trying to do duets with Charlie McClain so that I could have a career like Conway Loretta, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why that I decided to do duets with her. But it turned out to be a number one song for us. And but she ended up getting married to some guy out of Hollywood, and so that threw a little kink in our recording session. So that didn't work out.
And today you're touring America right now, right?
Well, I'm getting ready to go to Canada. We're going to start in Winnipeg and go all the way to Nova Scotia. June I think the 12th is our first show, and I'm doing touring dates again. I worked in my theater in Branson for 26 years. I'm no longer in Branson, Missouri. I got my theater and my restaurant up for sale, and if I have any luck at all, and I dump the theater and the restaurant to some guy that wants to come in Branson, Missouri, and be a performer, then I'll be totally on the road performing the music for the folks. I don't intend to retire. I just turned 80 years old, but I enjoy doing what I do. I love to get out and perform for the folks. We just finished the show today and had a wonderful reception. I went out and signed autographs, took pictures with the fans, and had a blast. We're on our way back to Branson at the present time, and our next show is with my friend Johnny Lee and Jeannie Seeley at the Corn Palace in South Dakota.
That's great. Mickey, you've done a lot of different things in country music. Is there anything in the world of country music or rock music that you haven't recorded yet that you'd like to record in the future?
Well, you know what? If my theater sells and I get a chance to go back, I've got my eye on a few songs that I want to try to do. And they're not country music songs, but I think they'd be a good country music version if I could put them together. And one of them is by Lionel Richie, and one of them is another tune that... sorry seems to be the hardest word. Was by Elton John.
Oh, yeah.
I've looked at that, and then I got an original piece of material that I found that a guy wrote that I'm thinking about, going to the studio. If I find the right material, I want to go back in and do some other things, and have a CD, something new on the market. The music business has changed a lot now, I mean,
oh, yeah.
You can cut something down and put it on YouTube, and all of a sudden, you get all these hits on it, and the first thing you know, you become a star, an internet star.
Yeah, yeah,
it's changed a lot since then.
Our audience is primarily between the ages of 45 and 70, so we play the great rock and roll hits of yesteryear. And Jerry Lee is an artist that I play quite a bit, and he's been on the show before. What was your relationship with Jerry Lee growing up?
Well, we're first cousins, and we grew up there in Frederick, Louisiana. There's only 6 months different in our age. We ran around together. We played pool together. We went swimming together. We rode our motorbikes together. We, just kids growing up is a normal thing that we played silly games like I Dare You to Do This, and
Yeah.
we played just crazy things that when we were kids growing up. It's just normal growing up years in Louisiana back in the 50s.
I mean, Jerry's rise to fame was very tumultuous. Did that surprise you in any way?
You talking about the one he's married to now, the one he married when he married his cousin?
Well, just at the beginning of his career, leading up to where he is right now.
Well, I was surprised when he married his first wife, Dorothy.
Okay.
He was just a kid, and
Right.
I was too. And then next thing I knew, he married another gal from Nashville, Mississippi, Jane.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he went to Memphis and had Crazy Arms Whole Lot Shaking Out, he married Myra. Took her over to England, and he got in trouble.
Right.
But he had some great records, Jerry Lewis is one of a kind. He's a great talent. I think he's the best talent in our family, and I always give him credit for that. He's a genius when it comes to playing.
Yeah, he's very, I think, looking back, he isn't as appreciated as he should be in rock lore, I think. I mean, when you look back at how talented he was.
He is, he beats to his own drum. I love doing the music for the folks. I enjoy the music industry. It's been a great ride for me, and I appreciate what's happened to me in my career, and I've done very well with it.
Yeah.
Probably not done as well. I mean, if you want to look at somebody who had a hell of a career, you got to look at Reverend Swigert.
Yeah.
He made more money than me and Gilley put together.
Right.
And that's a fact, I mean, you're talking about success. It's unbelievable what he's done.
He's won a totally different direction.
How much money he took in during his career. Unbelievable. He made me and Jerry look like paupers.
Looking back years before Reverend Swigert, made it big, did you see any of this in him, or was this a complete surprise? How did that all come about?
I never dreamed that he would become the evangelistic minister that he became, but I mean, he had a lot of followers, and I was really, really surprised when he got in trouble. I thought it was a setup, and I at the time, I just knew that they had set him up, but I was wrong, and but I always thought he did a lot more good than he ever thought about doing bad.
Sure, yeah. It's just interesting how so many talented.
I mean, I love my family, and I love Jimmy and I love Jerry. I think Jerry is the best talent in the family, no doubt about it. I don't think that anybody can touch him. I thought he's one of the best musical geniuses I ever ran around with. I'm not saying because he's my cousin. I just said it if I've seen a lot of people out there that I mean, I thought John Lennon and Paul McCartney were geniuses, and you got to admit, that these people that brought the music out there for the folks that that was so successful for them, you got to call them a genius. That's what they were.
Yeah, that's right. And just one other question about the music industry. Sam Phillips, any thoughts on him?
Well, I auditioned for Sam Phillips back in the 50s, and the comment was, "We have one Jerry Lee Lewis. We don't need another one." So, I mean,
right.
Got to give him credit for one thing. He brought Elvis Presley front and center. He brought Carl Perkins. I think also Roy Orbison, Jerry Lee Lewis. He touched a lot of people.
Yeah. Our special guest, Mickey Gilley. Mickey, I want to say thank you on behalf of all of our listeners here at the Ray Carr Show in Cleveland, Ohio, and worldwide for being a guest on the program, and thank you for spending some time with us. Mickey, thank you very much, and the best of luck to you.
Hey, it's been an honor and a pleasure being on your show. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, sir. Have a nice day.
Okay.
Bye.
God bless. Bye.